So hello everyone, myself Jay Waghani, and today I'm going to demonstrate intertextuality as a resistance writing back to the empire in James Coetzee's 4. So here are academic and presentation details, table of content, research question. How does James Coetzee use intertextuality in 4 to challenge his colonial authority and reclaim silenced voices from Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe hypothesis? Coetzee's 4 employs intertextual rewriting as a post-colonial strategy or resistance, transforming Robinson Crusoe's imperial adventures into a critical of authorship, power, and historical ensure. By re-centering marginalized figures like Susan Barton and Friday, Coetzee exposes the colonial biases of colonial literature and reclaims narrative spaces for oppressed. Here is a context of quizzes and 4. In this slide, here is about James quizzes 4 as a response to Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. So I believe that you all know about this, that I am skipping it. Understanding intertextuality. So intertextuality is one. It is a connect one text to another one. Like it may references, echoes, or reshapes another, creating meaning through literary connections. Here, function initially creates dialogues between texts. So dialogues are make difference between two texts, and another one is the critics earlier narratives and ideologies. It is questioning another text, previous text, and along with rewrites history from new or a marginalized perspective. Uh, Additionally, amplifies silenced voices excluded from dominant discourses. Engages in intertextuality dialogue with Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, uses rewriting, questioning colonial authority, and give voices to the silence, like Friday and Susan Barton. Transforms the colonial adventure story into a post-colonial reflection on truth and authorship. Rewriting Crusoe's. So in Defoe's Crusoe, he was like a heroic and self-relevant survivor who was embodies colonial values. It represents the imperial ideal or mastery, reason, and civilization. A position of Friday as the silent inferior author, and Coetzee's Crusoe in 4. It is fluid, limited, and morally ambiguous. Stripped of heroism and certainty, silent about colonial violence and exploitation. His island becomes a site of moral empathies rather than a conquest. Coexist on undermines imperial glorification, exposes how colonial narratives silence subaltern voices. Through rewriting, he transforms adventure into allegory, questioning truth, authorship, and power. Friday's voice and silencing. Friday was represents the colonized subject, silence and dehumanizing in Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. In 4, Coetzee turns Friday into a symbol of voicelessness under colonial domination, silence, and power. Missing tongue, which signifies the ensure of a native language identity and history. Silence become from the resistance, refuse to speak the colonized language. It exposes gaps, absences, and mistranslations in the colonial discourses. Uses Friday's silence to question who can speak and who is spoke for. Reclaims the human presence of the silence other without the pretending to speak for him. Susan Barton is intermediary. Susan Barton is an outsider and narrator who tries to tell her vision of events. She seeks truth and authorship, but depends on the male writer for to record it. Struggle for voice represents the female and colonial struggle to write back against dominant power. And her story reshapes by patriarchal and imperial control. This character Susan is asked two questions: who gets to tell history and who voice counts, Her uncertainty authorship exposes how women are colonized voice are often silenced or rewritten. Colonial authority and narrative control. For relevant to the history in not neutral but shaped by colonial power and exclusion. Uh, uh, the archives reflects imperial authority, deciding what is recorded and what is silenced. In Coetzee's novel, Europeans hold narrative authority. Susan and Defoe shapes the story, while Friday remains voiceless. This mirrors shows colonial discourse control representation and defines truth. Through the metafiction and rewriting, quizzes exposes gaps and absences in colonial narratives. These textual voids become a site of a resistance where silence voices like Friday's haunt the official story. Themes of resistance. Four rewrites Robinson Crusoe to challenge colonial narrative and authority of the canon. Coetzee uses silence and fragmentation. Power of storytelling. Storytelling becomes an act of a recovery of erase of silence histories. Susan Barton attempts the narrator. Her Friday's story exposes the biases of official archives and how truth is constructed. Intertextuality as a decolonizing practices by rewriting Defoe's text. It questions imperial authority and reclaims narrative shapes it. The novel turns literature into a site of ethical resistance. So Friday was a loss of Friday was represent loss of voice and identity. Written by the his silence is written by the powerful, and it shapes spaces of a meaning, narrative gaps, the missing of unclear parts. Susan story invites reader question to authorship, and Coetzee uses gaps to disrupt traditional storytelling, and the reader's active participations, interpreting what cannot be fully told. So Susan's incomplete accounts exposes the limits of authorial control, and by blurring truth and fiction, Coetzee undermines the authority of the author and highlights freedom in interpretation. The incompleteness itself becomes the symbolic of fragmented history and human uncertainty. Postcolonial reclaims the silence of voices and colonial texts of Robinson Crusoe, asserting the postcolonial agency. In Crusoe, there is intertextuality, and through the character of Defoe, he's just try to shows that how he is apply intertextuality in it, and the novel concerns voices, authorships, and representation mirror global decolonization in literature, education, and media. Conclusion. So James Coetzee's Four transforms Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe into a powerful act of literary resistance, using intertextuality to expose how history, authorship, and truth are shaped by colonial power. By giving spaces to silence voice like Friday and exploring the struggle of Susan Barton to tell her story, Coetzee dismantles the authority of the imperial narrative and invites reader to question who controls meaning. The novel ultimately shows that rewriting the past is not only the artistic act but also a moral and political one, where silence, absence, and reinterpretation becomes tool for reclaiming identity and challenging the legacy of empire. So these are references. Thank you. Now, if you have any question, you can ask.
My question is, what is the purpose of ambiguity info?
So in four, there is so many things are unclear. Like we don't know about this island, never know about island, and also Friday's about Friday's history and Susan Barton's story. And through these, we also find that ambiguity, and he wants to show the real history. That's why he that is the main purpose of ambiguity and four. And so many things are hidden in colonial colonial era. So this was-
Jay, my question is, how does Poe blur the boundary between effect and fiction?
So in 4, we can find that so many things are looking real, and so many things are looking like a story. So as a Defoe, so many things are looking a story. So in colonial old writers who were rewrite their stories to making it real. So and also between fact and fiction, there this Coetzee is trying to give an also from I want to give an example that Defoe was a real writer, and Foy is a unreal. So this way Coetzee is also trying to show this. Thank you, sir. This was from my side.